The Conservative MP and Leave supporter Peter Bone joins us now. Welcome back to the programme. Is David Davis going a bit soft?
He was sticking to the line. The line was we're going to, that money's our money, 15 billion or whatever it is each year that we're supposed to give to the EU. It's going to be our money and we'll decide how to spend it.
This wasn't the line. This was a new line. We had never heard a government minister before say that we may continue to make some contributions to the European Union in return for certain rights of, as he was talking about, access to the market. That was new.
But that's how you interpreted what he said. I was in there for an hour and a bit, and if you take one sentence from one answer he gives, you're going to... I think the problem is there is no running commentary, so people take one sentence and interpret it. The fact is, if that had been the case, that would have been a negotiating position. Therefore, he has to say that nothing is ruled out.
But he didn't say. He went further than that. I mean, you say you were there, but maybe you had 40 winks at this point when he was.
It was getting boring.
Yeah, well, I think you've just made my point. He was asked by the Labour MP, Wayne David, will the government consider making any contribution in any shape or form for access to the single market? Now, in my default position, I would have expected Mr Davis to fudge the answer to that. But he didn't. He said the major criterion here is that we get the best possible access to the European market. And if that is included, that being a contribution in any shape or form in what you're talking about, then of course we will consider it.
Yes, but
that's clear.
He could not have said no to that, because that would have then been a negotiating position, and now you would have had your first thing. You say, we already know that we're not going to pay any money for access to the...
Well, he could.
He could have done, but that's
you
not...
went round in this bus telling us how much we give to the European Union every week. The contribution issue was a huge campaign. Yes. So are you now saying that what was on that bus was therefore, we can't confirm that because it would reveal our negotiating position?
Well, in my view, what I would do, of course, I would say we are not going to give any money to the European Union. That was my position and Gove's position. That wasn't my bus. But the point is that Theresa May has set a stance and saying we're not going to reveal our hand until we've done the negotiations. And that's why all these problems and all these inferences occur.
But on that bus was the £350 million that your side claimed went to the European Union. Now, of course, that figure wasn't right. It didn't take into account the rebate. It didn't take into account the money that comes back to this country as part of EU spending. But nevertheless, there is a figure. I put it to you that the more that figure, whatever the right number is used to continue to pay contributions, then the NHS should put away its begging bowl, because there ain't going to be any money for it.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think the figure is probably more like £10 billion a year, which is the net figure. Right. But you're absolutely right. And that's why I don't think there's any chance of any contribution for coming into what would be the internal market. And the reason I say that is not in the European Union's interest to have a problem, because we have a £70 billion trade deficit with them. If anyone should be paying anything to access a market, maybe it should be the European Union to access the fifth biggest economy in the world. I would have a 10p bet with you that there is no chance that we will put any money towards becoming part of the...
10p?
Well, it's not going to be... It's not
times are that bad in the Bone household.
I'm afraid. It's not going to be a euro.
What kind of bet will you put on the Europeans paying us? Because I don't think they're going to pay us to access our market.
No.
Well, I think actually the bet that will be the best bet is that it's going to be a free trade agreement across the board.
So possible payments into the single market, maybe some low-skilled migration, still keeping the European Court of Justice in some areas as the ultimate arbitration court. Remain has lost the referendum, but they're winning the war, aren't they?
Well, there's a vacuum, isn't there? Because of the fact that the people who want to leave are not saying what their position is, i.e. the government, and anything that Remain's side says gets the airwaves. And
No, these are positions that the government is signalling they are open to.
Well,
David Davis said last night, we don't want to see any migration control that hurts the economy or hurts key
no, on migration. I think there's clear on migration. We've always said that there will be immigration from the European Union, but it be controlled. And I don't think that position has changed. So I think we can park that one and say that is absolutely, and that's what people wanted, ending free movement, but proper control.
Well, he said, Mr. Davis, no one wants to see labour shortages in key sectors.
Yes.
He said at a meeting I was at that Britain will not opt out of the international competition for talent as well. So if you add this up, no guarantee that our EU contributions are going to end, a more small L liberal stance on immigration than we had been led to believe, and perhaps even, if we're making contributions to Europe, that the European Court of Justice will have some jurisdiction over certain areas of this country. Sounds to me that this is slipping away from you.
Well, you make Sam's point. This is what happens in the vacuum. One side puts its story out. The truth of the matter is we will end free movement. We won't be sending money to the EU. But I can't prove that because the government is not willing to announce its position. Now, do I think perhaps we should have a statement sometime from the government saying much more firmly what the broad position is, i.e. that we were going to have controlled migration, that we will not be spending billions of pounds to the EU. Yes, that probably would be a good thing.
Are you expecting to get a vote on matters like this, on whether or not we would continue to make some kind of contribution to the Brussels budget?
As it goes through the parliamentary process, I mean, the triggering of Article 50, I think, is as of right, because the British people voted for that, to say we are going to come out. But the detail absolutely has to be determined by Parliament. That's what we would expect, and there'll be endless debate. So if I had my way, I'd take the time limit off and we could debate through the night.
Very well. Well,
Then we would get breakfast.
We've been up all night, so there's nothing new to us. So we could be there as well to have Brexit and then breakfast, or maybe the other way around. It's quite hard to know which. Peter Bond, thank you very much for being with us.